It's a paraglider incident that's hit the ground, pretty back injuries.
Mobile Intensive Care Ambulance paramedics Mark and Karina are responding to a Code 1. A novice paraglider has crashed into an isolated cliff face on the Mornington Peninsula, south of Melbourne.
Patient fell approximately 20 metres. Patient injured back, nil further info at this stage.
Right.
A major incident like this in such a remote location needs the big guns. So the air ambulance has also been called in.
Any job where you get to beat the helicopter or try and beat the helicopter is a good job in itself.
You better drive it like you stole it, dude.
So this guy's seriously lucky to be alive, and our biggest priority is to get there as quickly as possible to work out what sort of injuries he's got, knowing that from a 20-metre fall from a paraglider, they could be life-threatening.
As Micah paramedics with 27 years of shared experience, Mark and Karina know situations like this are fraught with danger.
We have to walk some 500 metres across the sand to reach this man that I can see perched about halfway up the cliff. How are we going to get him down safely before the light starts to fade?
All available emergency rescue crews have been rushed to the scene. The man who fell out of the sky, 60-year-old Sid, is in a critical condition.
So I lay eyes on Sid for the first time and I think, you are in serious trouble, mate. You are pale, I can see that you're sweaty, you're in enormous amounts of pain. We need to get you off this cliff as soon as possible. This scene is so dangerous. He's in a precarious position and we know that one wrong move getting him down that cliff face could change his life forever.
Yeah, acknowledge when you can we get a detailed sit rep to pass on to control, please? Thanks.
On the Mornington Peninsula, emergency services are under pressure to get 60-year-old Sid off the cliff and to a trauma hospital. It's been hours since the paraglider crashed and the temperature is dropping rapidly.
I look at Sid and I'm really worried about him. I'm really worried about how long he's been up on that cliff and how long it's going to take for us to safely get him down. It is freezing cold, the temperature is plummeting, hypothermia is probably setting in, and that is the last thing that Sid needs with his injuries.
The biggest concern is whether Sid has done irreversible damage to his spine. The huge team of emergency services must move quickly to get him off the steep cliff face, but with the greatest of care.
I can see the sort of terrain he's fallen into, nothing's flat, there's edges sticking out. And I just think the potential for disaster is everywhere.
Stand by, Golf Control.
My two biggest fears with this guy is that he'll either have a head injury or he'll have a spinal injury. One wrong move and potentially we could put this gentleman in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
For Sid, it's a frightening possibility.
I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't breathe. 3 times I almost lost consciousness. Once I couldn't hear them. Twice I went blind and I was feeling incredibly sick and I was cold. I thought, I've really done it now. I'll be lucky to survive this, let alone walk again. It was terrifying.
On the Mornington Peninsula, fears are growing for 60-year-old paraglider Sid after he crashed into a cliff face, sustaining critical injuries. Emergency service crews are preparing to move Sid, with Micah paramedics Karina and Mark unsure if he'll ever walk again.
Where's the stem-a-till? How about I just take an ampoule of each? Get him down off the side of the hill is a nightmare. The massive potential for injury here, for internal injury, for spinal injury, for neck injuries, head injuries, enormous.
Once he's in and strapped in, he won't be going anywhere.
Oh, it's just getting him across, mate. Like, if I try and move him across now, he's going to go...
Yeah. These guys are getting that rescue line there.
Yep.
We're bringing that down, connect that into the system there.
Beautiful.
With ropes secured at the top of the cliff, the emergency crews are now ready for the tricky descent.
You guys right?
Yep. Happy, Frenchie. Coming up.
It's been a monumental effort that's taken 3 hours just to get to this point.
So we'll just load the stretcher in so it gets slide down. So you guys ready down the bottom? I'll get you in the position.
We've got a concept called the golden hour, which really means that someone like Sid really needs to be at a hospital within an hour of the incident.
How we look at Yeah, they're good to go. We're going to go.
But on the flip side, we know that we need to be so incredibly cautious of how we get him down. We're working on the worst case scenario of him having a spinal injury.
Good, that's it, boys. Nice and easy. Walk down, just watch you stepping behind you there. It just drops off.
So I'm watching them move Sid down this cliff face, just inch by inch.
That's it, yeah, that's it.
One wrong move could end in tragedy, and he could end up as a paraplegic and never walk again.
Just put in. Easy.
To stand there and watch it happen, you just breathe in and hold your breath for the entire time.
And now down. Yep, beautiful.
For Sid, it's felt like an eternity.
Thank God they're lifting me down. Thank God we're moving.
Okay, so we got a few bumps ups and downs.
It was dangerous for them. It was dangerous for me. They did everything perfectly. But the pain and the breathing was difficult, and I couldn't feel my legs. It was terrifying.
Sid is now transported up to the waiting helicopter to be flown to trauma specialists at the Royal Melbourne Hospital.
How do you feel as far as pain goes?
It's okay.
It's okay at the moment? Okay, so you send yourself off cliffs because...
It's supposed to be fun.
Right, right.
So we've taken every precaution at this point to get Sid safely into the back of the helicopter.
Ready, set, go.
But he's got significant injuries. I hope that this doesn't change the rest of his life.
Sometimes in your heart of hearts, you know when a case is going to have a good outcome. We've done everything we can for him, but I just don't know.
I made a deal with the universe. I said, if you get me out of this situation and just let me walk again, I won't fly. I will never fly again.
And it's been 2 weeks since novice paraglider Sid crashed into a cliff on the Mornington Peninsula. When paramedic Mark saw Sid airlifted out by chopper, he wasn't sure if the 60-year-old would ever walk again.
Sid, how you going? Can't believe you're up on your feet.
Come in,
It's
please.
amazing. To fall 20 metres and survive is incredible in itself, but to be up walking again in the next couple of weeks is just miraculous.
Apparently, I'd pulverised my lumbar, one of the spine, yeah.
Wow, yeah, well, they wouldn't use that word too lightly, I can imagine.
With a smashed spine, Sid underwent surgery to have a 5-disc lumbar fusion. It's allowed him to walk again.
And believe me, every painful step I've been taking has been fantastic. The surgeon told me that I was in a very, very, very vulnerable, very fragile position. And if you hadn't handled the situation well, I'd be a paraplegic.
Wow.
I mean, this is my life.
Yeah.
The reality is, because you did your job, I can walk.
Yeah. As a paramedic, I'm always nervous about spinal injuries because I know that they don't always end well. So there's just no better news than knowing that one of our patients is up walking again.
And remember Sid's promise on the side of that cliff that he would never paraglide again if he could still walk? Well, he's keeping the promise.
You don't screw with the universe. Yeah, they came good with the deal, so I've got to keep my side of it. Absolutely. As much as I loved flying, I will never fly again.
So good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At Melbourne's Essendon Airport, flight paramedic Ray is on the way to help a dirt bike rider who's crashed 200 kilometres away in the remote Victorian high country.
Airborne 4-4 Parker.
Reports are coming in that he's badly broken both his wrist bones.
Is it coming through the skin?
Yeah.
Which side?
Right.
The reality is you probably ride bikes in the bush enough and you're going to crash. It's just the nature of that terrain. You tend not to potter around, you tend to tear around. Really at high speed, coming off a motorbike, you're going to be pretty hurt.
Local paramedics have now rescued the severely injured rider from the bike trail and are about to update Ray.
Mark, how you doing?
So I've got for you 30-year-old Brenton. He's turned to have a look at the rest of the guys he's riding with. He's hit something.
Okay. Gone
Superman pushed.
Yep, over the top of the handlebars.
Yeah, we've got fracture dislocation on the right wrist.
Yeah.
And what's your pain out of 10 now, mate? You said it was 6. It's getting up there.
It's getting up there again, okay.
Brenton was a competitive motocross rider, so he's no stranger to accidents.
He's had a femur fracture that he's got a pin in.
Yep.
And he's had a previous radial ulnar fracture on the right, which has been pinned and plate in the past as well.
Okay.
You've had those plates removed, haven't you? Yeah.
When did you break that arm the first time? How long ago? Just ballpark.
2 years.
2 years ago? And the leg? Same crash?
Yeah.
That was a bad crash.
Yeah.
His girlfriend Kirsty has just arrived at the airstrip after hearing the news of the accident.
I wasn't there, but his mates told me they were just riding along the track and he's hit a rock and just gone over the handlebars. I think he's getting a bit old for it.
How quick were you going, you reckon, Brenton?
So I sort of said it's between 40 and 50.
40, 50, so it's just unlucky to really go over the top and land like you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was silly. It's just because I wasn't looking. You did the Superman.
Yeah, and your hands go out because that's what we do. All right, I'm going to have a quick poke and prod at you.
As well as 2 serious wrist fractures, Brenton's also dislocated his right elbow in the fall.
So wiggle these fingers for me, just nice and gently. Fingers. They don't wiggle very well.
Stuck.
All right.
Stuck.
Brenton needs surgery urgently, but a Melbourne trauma centre is still almost an hour's flight away.
The dislocation has potential to impinge both nerves and blood supply. Now, you don't want that to persist because that impinge for a long time can potentially lead to a loss of limb. Let's get you up and out of here, hey? So this pain's starting to jack up again? Yeah.
In the Victorian high country, Micah flight paramedic Ray is increasingly concerned about Brenton's extreme injuries. The 30-year-old has smashed both his wrists in a dirt bike crash.
I can think of nothing worse than doing 2 at the same time, to be quite honest. You're a little bit cool on the right side, too.
His dislocated right elbow is also now blocking vital blood and nerve supply to his hands.
What do you do for a living?
Builder.
So you kind of need your hands.
Yeah.
Let's get you up and out of here, hey? Brenton's a builder, so his hands and his arms are just crucial to his work. And at very least for him, it's casts on both arms, probably for about 8 weeks. Hi, Kirsty. So to Melbourne he goes, and he'll really just pretty much go in a pretty quick surgery.
For Brenton's partner Kirsty, the news is devastating.
Are you coming to Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm going to drive down, yeah.
Take your time. You're going to have the hard part for the next X amount of months.
Yes.
Although she's putting on a brave face, Kirsty knows there's tough times ahead.
Hey, friend.
How you going?
It's your face.
Where are you itching?
I think it started dawning on Kirsty that their whole world's going to change between the two of them.
I might leave you to it, friend.
Right, thanks, Kirsty.
I'll see you after your surgery.
Just straighten it out a bit, mate.
Bathing himself, driving a car, he's going to be totally dependent on the care that Kirsty can provide. And there's probably mortgage to be paid. You're a chippy, so what are your odds? Are you getting paid on sick leave? Probably not.
All stations, 4 Parker CTF, medical helicopter HEMS 1 is lifting, runway 18 for departure to Melbourne.
Kirsty wasn't impressed. When you break both your arms, so you meant to wipe your ass and just stuff like that.
It's nearly an hour's flight to the Royal Melbourne Hospital Trauma Centre where Brenton will be taken straight into surgery.
Yo! Sorry, mate. Get the needles. Hang on, we're just going to undo a seatbelt. Hold tight. Oh, that's better. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
The longer Brenton's hand is not properly supplied with blood in particular, the more potential he has for cell damage. And if you have it long enough, cells will die. As we come into land, Brenton's right hand doesn't look a great colour and he really can't move it all that well. That's not looking really good for Brenton. We'll just do a gentle bump or two as we come in here. Yep.
Former motocross rider Brenton was in danger of losing the use of both his hands after he came off his dirt bike at high speed.
So wiggle these fingers for me, just nice and gently.
Stuck.
All right.
Stuff.
Both his wrists were severely broken and his right elbow dislocated, cutting off critical blood supply. Luckily for the young builder, Ray got him to hospital in time for successful emergency surgery. 4 months and 5 operations later, Brenton is back on the bike, rounding up cattle on his farm, and will soon resume full-time work.
Emergency services.
We had a paraglider pilot flying and he's crashed at 30 to 40 kilometres per hour into the side of the hill.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of pain and we're not sure whether...
Yeah, do not move him at all unless absolutely necessary.
The paraglider has come down in a remote location, and flight paramedic Matt is being dispatched to the crash site, 120 kilometres northeast of Melbourne.
Medivac, VFR AW139, air ambulance, we request taxi and airways.
1628 airborne.
Roger.
So we're going to a paraglider, which sounds like he's come to grief into a tree. I don't know what injuries he has at this stage, but he's in a very awkward position, reportedly.
Emergency teams on the ground have hiked through difficult terrain to reach the crash site and are urgently requesting assistance.
Door open and locked.
Roger. Yeah, probably not really anywhere to land in there.
But if Matt's to get to the injured patient quickly, he will have to go in by winch.
Yeah, I think the patient's out here till 11 o'clock, mate.
Yeah. Oh, that's them there. Yeah, got them sorted.
Yep.
When we look around the area, we can see that the patient is stuck on the crest of a hill.
All right, we need to go stage somewhere and then plan from there, I think.
We weigh up all the factors as to whether it's going to be a reasonably safe area to winch into. It's big decisions. We don't take it lightly at all. But this really needs to be done. Otherwise, we're going to ultimately delay the delivery of care to the patient.
Only a handful of winch jobs are undertaken each year in Victoria. They are inherently risky and are only attempted when it's absolutely necessary.
3, 2, 1, wheels on. Roger.
But before they can begin, the helicopter must shed weight by offloading one of the crew.
The lighter they are, the better they perform. We just want the aircraft to be at its best possible functioning capability, so we take off all the things that we don't actually need to be on there, and it improves the performance.
Righto, let's get up there.
As they prepare for the winch, the team also searches for a safe landing site nearby.
Here's the spot coming up now at our 1:32 o'clock. So that's where we were looking to maybe...
For an extraction zone. You've got heaps of SES down there, we might be able to walk it out. Yeah. Might be the preferable option.
The patient's location will be much harder to reach, 100 metres below, through a thick canopy of trees.
I've never really been very good with heights. Dangling there in the air, and you've got this mechanical machine that lowers you down on this cable, and then you look up and you're looking up at a big tin can which has got a fan on the top which is spinning around.
Helmet's good, chest, and all the way down is all good. Thumbs up off Chef. Chef's coming out of seatbelt.
It's a really unnatural procedure to actually be doing. It's a dangerous, daunting experience.
And bring your Chef across to the door. I'm ready to winch. Carrying out my secondary checks on Chef. Second checks are good. And bring your Chef across to the door. I'm ready to winch.
In remote bushland, Matt is about to make a difficult descent to reach an injured paraglider who crashed into a tree and plunged 45 metres to the ground.
Aircraft's well clear. You happy, Shep? Yeah. Telling Shep he's going down.
Roger. It is always a very daunting experience.
Winching out.
Being there in your harness, attached to the cable, entering out the side of an aircraft, and then letting go.
And you clear up 5, go up 5. Up 4, up 3, 2, 1, hold. High positions, good maintain.
The communication that goes on inside the aircraft during a winching procedure is huge.
Shep's approaching the deck this time. He's 15 feet. You're moving forward and right. Stop drifting forward and right. 5 feet off the ground. 4, 3, 2, 1. And Shep's on the deck. Right. Shep's disconnecting from winch hook. Recovering an empty winch hook.
Nice work, Scotty.
While Matt makes his way to the patient, the crew heads to their landing site.
All right, so there's our spot just over there.
But with the thick tree line, this is also a tricky descent.
Maintail's clear down, forward right, behind and below.
Roger.
120 kilometres from Melbourne, Air Ambulance HEMS 1 is landing near the scene of a paragliding accident.
Wheels are holding nicely, mate. Front's got about half an inch.
Here we
Front's
go.
on. We're down.
Just back up a bit. All right, there you go. Now turn around towards the stretcher.
With the help of ground crews, Matt has treated the patient's injuries and is now preparing to airlift him to safety.
Strap you in.
He's very lucky. You think about it, he's been flying up in the air on essentially a kite, lost control and he's gone down into a tree. And from what I can see at this stage, he's got a nasty injured arm.
Originally from Brazil, 35-year-old Carlos has been paragliding for 2 years. This morning, wife Giselle recorded him take off on his fateful flight.
Woohoo! After he launched, was like, okay, the weather was okay. And I saw that he started to drop so fast. This is not normal.
Wonderful. Excellent.
One of our friends was with me. He said, I don't think he's okay because he fell from the sky. He just dropped like a stone.
After crashing into a tree, Carlos fell 45 metres through branches to the ground.
Carlos, my name's Matt.
Hey, Matt.
I'm going to travel with you back to Melbourne. We're going to take you to the Alfred Hospital. You've still got a bit of pain there, I believe.
Yes,
I'm going to give you a medicine into this little drip that they put in. Just going to have a look at it, make sure it's all working nicely.
Given the mechanism of the incident that Carlos has had, he's lucky he didn't have a tree branch go into his chest. If he had have had his arm up in a different position, he's lucky he didn't bang his head on anything. You know, he is lucky to have survived this accident.
You guys have a really cool job. Be flying all day long.
It's a bit safer than paragliding.
Yeah, I assume so.
Matt is still worried about just how much damage has been done to Carlos's arm.
You get a large amount of swelling that goes on in those areas after those types of accidents. And if that pressure continues to go and the circulation stops, you know, that threatens his limb effectively. So he could end up actually losing his arm from it.
Carlos, can you hear me? How's the pain in your arm now? Is it getting better?
Matt is on the way to the Alfred Hospital with crash-landed paraglider Carlos. His injuries are so serious, he could end up losing his left arm.
I've given you some medicine which is going to make you feel quite sleepy and quite drowsy and quite strange. But we should get on top of your pain in a moment, okay?
Carlos is in considerable pain, so I've just got to try and give him as much analgesia as I can to make sure he's comfortable on the way back to hospital.
Carlos, big breaths, big breaths. Big breaths. Good man, that's it.
So far, this rescue has been a logistical challenge.
Yeah,
ambulance, HEMS 1.
But it's not over yet.
HEMS 1 receiving, go ahead. Yeah, HEMS 1, you're going to have to land at Essendon as well as clear out of the Alfred or open patch in time. HEMS 1 received, no worries. We will go to Essendon, and obviously you'll need to organise a car for us.
The team is being diverted to the air ambulance base, where Carlos's journey to hospital will continue by road.
You all right, Carlos?
So it's unfortunate for Carlos. He gets the slower trip to hospital. But I'm sure that when he gets to hospital, they're going to take good care of him, give him all the scans, and ultimately he's probably going to end up needing surgery.
As the ambulance leaves the airfield, hospital staff are on standby for the emergency surgery Carlos may need to save his arm.
I got the patient visual 8 o'clock, mate. Nowhere to land.
And it's been 3 weeks since paraglider Carlos crashed into a tree with his horrified wife looking on. He was emergency airlifted back to Melbourne and had surgery on his arm.
When you move, you don't feel pain in the
No,
middle?
it's
in the
still
elbow?
very painful, and it's just annoying sometimes when I walk, when I stand up. My movement, it's quite limited like that.
Carlos didn't lose his arm, but it was fractured in multiple places.
I broke my bone from the wrist to the elbow, and I broke also the little bone on the elbow, the disc bone, in 5 pieces. It's something that I don't want to repeat in our lives. That's why I'm seriously considering not go back to fly.
Carlos's mobility will be limited for a long time to come. But there is hope he will eventually make a full recovery.
In my opinion, I think Carlos, he gonna fly again, but not now. I think he needs time, and he can fly again. And no more nights in the hospital, right?
Right, what do we got? It's a jiujitsu class, and he's landed on his elbow, and it's popped or fractured. And he's 25, and that's all we really know. All right, what is his name going to be?
Oh, yeah. I want to say Brian, but I think I reckon 25's too young, so I reckon Ryan.
Ryan, okay, I like it. I'm going to say his name is Andrew. Or Andy. I'll take anything.
I'll give you that.
Andrew or Andy. Another game Foxy and I like to play together is guessing a patient's name on the way to a job. We've currently got a 0% strike rate, but we're feeling confident. One day. G'day, mates. I'm Eamon. I've got Mike with me.
G'day.
What was your name?
I'm Mark.
Mark. So I guessed Andrew, Foxy guessed Ryan, and his name was Mark. That's probably the closest we've ever gotten. And that's not even close. What's happened? Did you hear sort of like a popping sensation?
Yeah, I had a really huge crunch. So I kind of bent her like that.
And how are you going sort of moving those fingers? That feels normal? No sort of altered sensation there? Okay. You didn't hurt anything else, you don't think?
No.
It sounds like Mark was doing a takedown and he somehow landed awkwardly on his elbow. I'm worried that maybe he's dislocated something, torn a ligament, or broken a bone maybe. So whereabouts is the pain exactly?
Oh, there it is. Oh, yep.
Yeah, that's quite
there.
tender. Yeah, okay.
Mark will need an X-ray to find out just how much damage he's done.
So we are going to have to walk you out to the ambulance. So I'm going to give you the green whistle.
Tastes pretty average. Pop that. Yep, hold that in there. The book says it tastes like juicy fruits, but it tastes nothing like juice.
I've never had a juicy fruit that tastes like that.
No, because no one would buy them.
A splint is applied to help with Mark's pain, but it's nowhere near as good as the green whistle.
How you going with that?
I'm good. I'm pretty good stuff.
Yeah, that's not even the strongest.
I don't do anything that strong.
It's a low-dose anaesthetic, and people react to it in some really bizarre ways. Some people are two-pot screamers, and they'll be off chops after a couple of puffs. Take it slow, mate.
Yeah, don't trip over anything, because we've got a lot of crap everywhere.
All right, hold up, mate. You're on the run. Mark was a pretty upbeat guy anyway, and he was off like a rocket.
Just stay active. Don't break anything.
With Mark flying high, the only person heading for a takedown now is Mike.
Now, if anyone wants to just have a roll with Foxy and just put him through his paces...
I'm tougher than I look. Eamon just threw me under a bus. We're in this room of almost trained killers, and he asked them if they want to fight me.
And after you break him, he can fix himself.
Yeah.
All right, head this way, up the stairs.
This is my partner, so is he okay if he comes?
You're most welcome to come with us, shopper.
In the city, Mike and Eamon are beating a hasty retreat from the martial arts centre.
Left. That's it, mate.
Their patient, 25-year-old Mark, is heading to hospital for x-rays with partner Bruce.
All right, too easy. You get that seat facing backwards.
Just before they left, Eamon volunteered Mike for a wrestle with Mark's teammates.
As soon as I mentioned that maybe Mike have a fight, he was filthy.
Do you guys get to pick who you're paired with?
Generally not, but fortunately Mike, he's just struck absolute gold working with me. He's probably the luckiest bloke in the ambulance service.
I can definitely see that.
So they tell me. All right, just moving on.
Mark, who could have seriously injured his elbow, has been in high spirits since Mike and Eamon arrived.
So the bloke you were wrestling, rolling with today, is he a fairly advanced fighter?
We were practicing something called a takedown, and I landed on my left arm in a weird position.
Yeah.
And then everyone stopped, and I became a celebrity for a small amount of time.
I know, I felt so much pressure working under an audience there. And how did you gentlemen meet?
We met 7 years ago at university.
You have to put a ring on it soon.
We have.
There you go. Sorted. Well, congratulations. That's exciting. One of the most interesting things about this job is the people you meet. Mark and Bruce are so nice, and it's jobs like this that make our job so enjoyable. How was the wedding? When was the wedding?
We didn't have a wedding.
Oh, you just kept it pretty chilled?
Just decided to...
Keep it low-key.
Keep low-key, and like that money that would have potentially been spent on the wedding, we would prefer to go to children,
it's
like,
money
you know,
well spent.
down the line.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we cannot naturally conceive, unfortunately, unless a miracle were to be performed upon one of us.
What I liked about Mark and Bruce is despite all of this stuff going on, they had a smile on their face the entire time. They're so obviously in love. They seem to be kicking all sorts of goals together.
Oh, this is very...
Yeah, they're all hydraulic now. Yeah. Makes much easier on our back.
It's how blokes with little chicken arms like Eamon and I can get into the job. Go, you can come along with him. All right.
I feel so special.
Well, you're special in a way.
Yeah, that's what my mum says.
Yeah, my mum says that too.
Mark's elbow will now be x-rayed to see how much damage he's done and how long he'll be waiting for his next takedown.
Mark, he was the friendliest guy ever, I think. I mean, it might have been the drugs, but...
It was even before that, though.
Yeah.
He was so hyper and just happy to see us, which no one ever is.
Yeah.
More importantly, a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses, who would win?
Horse-sized duck?
It's huge.
By the way, I would like to see the fight.
After an awkward takedown at jiu-jitsu, Mark had his wrist x-rayed and was sent home from hospital with ligament damage. He's now back at martial arts with Bruce, and the couple is still planning a family. It's a spectacular start to the day at the air ambulance base at Essendon Airport. But flight paramedic Matt's first case is confronting. He's on his way to a critically ill schoolboy in country Victoria.
5-6 for taxi. Clear right left. You guys secure in the back?
Yeah, we're secure. Doors locked, mate.
The boy's panicked friend has called for help after witnessing a terrifying sporting accident.
We're doing high jump. He missed the whole mat and I think he landed on his back and he's just shaking.
Okay.
He's not saying anything. He's struggled breathing as well.
Since crashing off the mat in the gym, the semi-conscious schoolboy has been having violent fits.
The crude head injury, a patient will need to be sedated. He's highly agitated.
Disturbing reports from local paramedics at the scene are putting Matt on edge.
It sounds like he's had a loss of consciousness after he's hit the ground, and he's very irritable and very unsettled.
Clear the trees now, just got the goalpost.
He's punching out, trying to hit people, trying to grab people, and so it takes 3 or 4 paramedics to actually hold him down and to be able to manage him.
Hey, how you going?
Very good, I'm cooking, mate.
That's all right.
I've got
Logan.
For his own safety, Logan has been heavily sedated.
So he's come from a fair heart with a fair bang. He was altered conscious state from the get-go. Really difficult to manage. Struggling to get baseline observations because he was just so agitated and kicking and flailing around.
Logan's dad, Chris, teaches at the school. For the last hour, he's watched on helplessly as his son has spiralled out of control.
Did you find any bumps, lumps or anything like that?
No, I didn't. But to be honest, it was really hard to assess him because he was just so mobile.
When somebody bangs their head and starts to display seizure activity, it makes me think that they've got a significant brain injury.
No, it's just a normal average kid, plays sports and so forth. Yep. What sports does he play? Footy, cricket? Footy and cricket.
Logan doesn't have a history of epilepsy, so I'm very concerned that that irritability that he's got going on beforehand was that he's actually had a bleed into his brain, which can cause him to deteriorate and obviously ultimately die.
What's his eyes doing? Is he about to have a seizure? It's okay, buddy. So it looks like he was about to have another seizure there. His pupils dilated and he's just become a bit stiff. So I'll give him some more medication now just to make sure he's nice and comfortable.
In country Victoria, flight paramedic Matt is worried Logan could have suffered a serious head injury. The 14-year-old schoolboy crashed onto the floor during high jump practice and went into violent convulsions.
All right, Logan, just relax, mate. Just relax, mate.
Logan's mum, Fiona, has just arrived to find her son heavily sedated.
Okay.
Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy.
His head now, okay?
Just relax, buddy.
Dad, Chris, a teacher at the school, has not left his son's side and is fearing the worst.
It was very distressing. He was having really aggressive fits and seizures and trying to roll over and sit up and stand up.
All good? Okay, buddy.
Yeah, he wasn't responding. Never seen him like that before.
Logan needs to be airlifted to hospital urgently, but to be moved safely, he has to be put into a medically induced coma.
Have we got the ketamine drawn up? Can I have the ketamine, please? Buddy. Can we grab a blanket or maybe that pillow, please? I need to lift up his shoulders and support his head and just get this underneath him. Any intubation is an invasive, dangerous procedure. I'm going to stop him breathing and put him to sleep effectively and take control of his breathing. So is everybody pretty much ready? So I'll give him some medicine in a moment, which will make him really sleepy, and then I'll put that tube into his airway and we'll take over his breathing from that point. All right, so let's go with some drugs, please. Everybody ready? And you're on the suction. You're ready to go. Cheers. Which relax you been looked after?
A failed intubation can starve the brain of oxygen and cause cardiac arrest.
You understand what's going to happen?
Yeah. I'm still scared about the unknown and what the outcome would be. It would be the worst day of my life, without a question.
That's a dry one here. That's 99%, heart rate 120.
To take over Logan's breathing and put him into a medically induced coma, Matt needs to carefully place a tube down Logan's throat.
Can you just push on the gastric tube from this end? Just gentle push down.
Just rise and equal.
There's a waveform, got misting of the tube, got good rise and fall, and we've got end-tidal. That's great, I'll give you that.
The intubation has worked, but the long wait to see if Logan's brain will recover is just beginning.
Yep, that's great. Wonderful, that's terrific. So we'll just transfer him across onto our bed. We'll keep him nice and comfortable. He's going to sleep the whole way until we get him to hospital.
Dad, Chris, will travel with Logan in the helicopter, while Mum, Fiona, will go by road.
Ready, set, and go.
So we're flying back into the Royal Children's Hospital, and I want to give the parents as much support and reassurance as possible, but I can't say exactly what's wrong with Logan at this point. I'm still concerned that he does have a brain injury.
Yeah, I was worried that is he actually going to regain consciousness? Is he going to make a full recovery? All the things you expect to do as a father and son, may not be able to be done in the future.
Look after yourself, buddy.
Yep. OK, we're clear to come in there, guys.
Flight paramedic Matt is getting ready to emergency airlift Logan to the Royal Children's Hospital. The schoolboy has a suspected brain injury and has been put into an induced coma.
Happy to go whenever you're ready, mate.
Dad Chris has been watching the nightmare unfold.
Logan's dad seems quite controlled, but I know inside him he would be torn up and very distressed. It's a horrible experience for any parent to have to go through.
Everybody securing the back doors are locked, thanks. Roger, mate. Take it, Beckman.
Yeah, Logan loves his footy, but he's a complete cricket nut. So to see him potentially not be able to play sport in the future would leave a big hole in his life.
Let's see what the scan says. Hopefully, just a knock on the head, he's got a bit of concussion, but got a cricket grand final on Sunday. Oh, has he? Which got delayed from last Sunday. Righto.
Good afternoon, helicopter ambulance 1, inbound to the Royal Children's Hospital, medevac requesting airway clearance.
At hospital, Logan will be kept in a coma until his condition stabilises. But there are no guarantees he'll ever play sport again.
So in terms of outcomes, you'd just be guessing at this stage. Well, seizure activity that he has concerns me that something's gone on inside his head, so we get the scan of his head when we get to the Royal Children's Hospital. But ultimately, it's just now boils down to working out where we're at.
You have to use your words very carefully because you never know what the final outcome will be. I don't want to give Chris false hope that everything is going to be perfectly normal when they take Logan into a CT scan and it shows that he's got a significant head injury.
Logan will now be rushed to the emergency department, where doctors will assess if the 14-year-old has suffered any permanent brain damage.
As I was walking across the helipad, all the potential bad outcomes, the worst case scenarios were buzzing through my head. Whether he'd, be able to function as a normal person in the future. Am I going to have to feed my son with a spoon for the rest of his life?
And it's now 3 months since Logan was airlifted to hospital with a suspected brain injury after he crashed to the floor during high jump practice.
They took him for scans quite quickly, and within possibly about 40 minutes to an hour, I got the news that there was no damage to his skull, no damage to his spine, and no damage to his brain. It took me a little while to actually process the news that it was good news, but it was amazing.
You get tired?
Nah, not yet, mate. Not yet.
Logan's only just started playing sport again and did miss the big event he'd been looking forward to.
I missed a cricket grand final, which was 3 days after I hurt myself, and we lost by 30 runs. That was really disappointing.
Life can be fragile, but at the same time, don't wrap yourself in cotton wool. Make sure each day counts and take on all the adventures and the things that life has in front of you. So yeah, it's a great reminder how precious life is.